and we're going to be, oh, it's got some options here. Okay. We're going to be looking at establishing suits, establishing long suits. And it's a really important part of declarer play, setting up, when you've got playing in a suit contract perhaps, or sometimes even in no trump, establishing tricks in your long suits. And we'll look at a few examples of this. And let's start with this one here, where you open a spade, North responds two clubs, you rebid your second suit two hearts, and they raise you to three hearts. You've got 16 points, so you go to four hearts, and the opponents lead a diamond. They lead the queen of diamonds, and down comes dummy, and we're going to stop to make a plan as usual. So let's look at the suits one at a time. In spades, we've got some spade losers, but maybe we can ruff some of those in dummy. We don't expect to lose any hearts, but we've got a diamond to lose, and we might lose a club as well. When the time comes, we might try a club finesse. But we've got a diamond, maybe a club, and we should be thinking about the spade suit there and thinking about whether we can avoid any spade losers. And anytime you have a long suit like that, you should be thinking about ruffing that suit and perhaps establishing the suit by ruffing. So we can see we've got five spades in our own hand and one in dummy, so six there. So the opponents have got seven spades between them. And you should always be planning to at least cater to the most likely distributions. And here the most likely distribution is that the missing spades are divided 4-3. That is to say, between West and East, one would have four spades, one's got three spades. And if that is the case, you should be thinking about how many times will you have to ruff the spades in order to establish the suit. So just imagine that someone's got four, someone's got three, and before you don't draw trumps right away, you start by playing the spades. And the question for you is, if the missing spades divide 4-3, how many times will you have to ruff spades in order to establish the suit? And that's the first poll for you this evening. How many times do you plan to ruff spades? And most of you have gone for twice, with a few people saying three and one person saying once. So let's switch back to it. And I agree with the majority of you, 75%. If you imagine that there are someone sitting there with four spades, I can see that if I can ruff twice, the fifth spade will be good. I don't need to ruff all three. So that's my plan on this hand. I'm going to defer drawing trumps, and instead I'm going to try to establish the spade suit by ruffing twice. So let's win that first trick, and I'm going to play the first trick with the win the first trick with the king of spades. And my best chance here is actually to start ruffing spades now. Don't cash the ace of spades and then try to ruff, because you'll have the opponents will have fewer spades, and there's a greater chance that you'll be over ruffed. So just keep in the back of your mind that you're hoping for this 4-3 break in spades, and just start off by ruffing a spade. Everyone follows to that. So that's 2 rounds gone. And what we now want to do is get back to our hand to ruff again. So we'll get back with a trump, and we'll lead the 8 of spades, and we're going to ruff this one in dummy. And we hope that everyone follows. And if they do, that's now all the spades. We know about all the spades. We played 3 rounds. So they all, both East and West, followed 3 times. So there's 1 high spade out, but we don't need to worry about that because that will fall when we cash the ace. So now we just switch to drawing trumps. We drew one round earlier, so we can draw another round, and then we draw the last round there. And I'll just bring up the four hands at this point, and you can see that now all the trumps have gone, and now when I cash the ace of spades, the queen falls, and my last spade is good as well. I might, once I've cashed the spades, I might try the club finesse. That loses here, but the opponents, all they can do is cash a diamond, and we can ruff the last diamond and cash a club. So played that way, we can actually make 11 tricks, and all we needed was a reasonable distribution in spades that they divide 4, 3, and that allowed us to establish a suit by ruffing twice. When this hand was actually played, it was actually played quite a long time ago. And you can see it was played by East-West, and that only 2 people actually made 4 hearts plus 1. A lot of people made 4 hearts of making or stopped in a part score, and quite a few went down in 4 hearts too. But you should be able to make 11 tricks there by establishing the spade suit. Let's try this one. It's similar bidding. It's gone 1 spade, 2 clubs, 2 hearts, 4 hearts, and the opponents here lead a diamond. And again, if we look at our possible losers, we have some spade losers, but maybe we can ruff some of those in dummy. We don't have any heart losers. We don't have any diamond losers. We've just got a singleton there, and we've got a club to lose. So we're definitely going to lose 1 club. And the question is, how can we avoid the spade losers? We can obviously try ruffing the spades again, but what we need to do is think about how many spades we have and how many the opponents have. This time we have a total of 7 spades, 6 in one hand and 1 in the other. So the opponents have got 6, and those are most likely to be divided 4-2. They might be divided 3-3, that's the second most likely, but 4-2 is most likely. And I'd like you to, again, think about if the missing spades are divided 4-2, how many times will we have to ruff in order to establish the spade suit? So think about the spades being divided 4-2, and the question is, how many spades will we need to ruff? How many times will we need to ruff spades in dummy in order to establish the suit? So let's launch the second poll. Have a look at the results. And once again, the most popular choice is 2, with some people going for 1 and some people going for 3. Well, just imagine someone sitting there with 4 spades, queen, jack, something, something, and you can see that if we ruff twice, the rest of our spades should be good. Okay, so just imagine them sort of with the 4 spades, and I think you can see that if we can ruff twice, the rest of the spades should be good if we can, if we don't get over ruffed or anything like that. So we're going to plan then basically that the hope that the spades are no worse than 4-2, and that means that we have to be careful about what to ruff with here. So we'll win the first trick with a diamond. We won't play trumps yet. We'll play a spade, which will win the first one with the ace. And a lot of people go wrong on this one because they decide to cash the king of spades first. But if I click here on the GIB button, it's actually saying that it's a mistake to cash the king here. It's much better, well, you can play out some other cards if you like, but if you play a spade, you should play a low spade. And remember that you're trying to imagine that someone's sitting there with four spades and someone sitting here with two spades. So if that is the case, we can ruff the second spade low. Now we'll come back to our hand maybe with the trump, and now we'll play another spade. And because we're worried about someone having started with only two spades, we're going to ruff this one high. We can afford to ruff high here because we've got all high trumps apart from that. And let's just bring up the four hands at that point. And you can see if we hadn't ruffed high, East would have been able to overruff. But we ruffed with the ace, and now our spades are set up. Just like before, all we now need to do is draw the remaining trumps. And then when we cash a king of spades, the queen falls, and we get two more spade tricks. So played this way, we'll lose one trick here, I think, at the end. But we'll make 12 tricks here. We'll lose just one trick because we didn't lose any spades. All we lost here was one club. And we avoided the spade loser by ruffing twice. And of course, you have to ruff high the second time to cater to the 4-2 distribution break in spades. Anyone have any comments or questions on that? Let's try one more. And this was actually the one I sent out in email at the weekend. And this hand by South, you've actually got 19 points. And quite a lot of people, when this hand was played, they opened one heart and it ended there. They played it in one heart. And that's likely to happen, as you'll see when you see the hands. If you upgrade this hand is close to being a two club opener. It's a kind of hand you almost want to be in game, provided you've got some kind of fit with your partner. So either bid is reasonable, one heart, but if you open two clubs, your partner bids two diamonds, that's 0 to 7. You then start bidding your suits. You bid your highest ranking 5-card suit first. Two hearts, they bid two spades, which shows some points. They could have bid two no trump to make a double negative bid, but the two spade bid shows at least 3 points. So they've got something like 3 to 7 points. You bid your second suit 3 diamonds, and they bid 3 hearts, and you end up in 4 hearts here. And the opponents lead a spade. And again, we can see we've got a number of losers here. We're going to lose a spade and 2 clubs, it seems. So we hope we don't lose any trumps. We've got nice trumps. And we also want to avoid a diamond loser. So what we need to do is think about how many diamonds we have, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And therefore, the opponents have got 6 diamonds, and we need to cater to at least the 4-2 distribution, 4-2 or 3-3 distribution. And that's my next poll question. If the missing diamonds divide 4-2 between East and West, how many times will you have to ruff in order to establish the diamond suit? So that's a third poll. How many times will you have to ruff to establish the diamond suit? And this time, majority have said once, 60%, and 40% said twice. So let's switch back and see what we think. So if you imagine that the diamonds are divided 4-2, can you see that if you can ruff one of your diamonds and cash the others, your 5th diamond will be good? So yes, I agree with the majority, the 60% of you, who said the answer is 1. And if anyone who said the answer is 2 would like to unmute themselves and tell me why they thought it was 2, because quite a lot of people said 2, then I'd be very glad to hear your thoughts on that. But I think as long as the diamonds divide no worse than 4-2, we should be able to avoid the diamond losers just by ruffing once. But we do need to cater to that 4-2 distribution. So let's see what we're going to do here. Let's suppose they lead the jack of spades. You could try the king, hoping they've led away from the ace. That could work out. On the other hand, you might be thinking, maybe I'll be able to take the king later on. On this particular layout, no matter what you do, they win the first trick. They carry on with another spade, and East plays the queen on that, and you ruff. And again, we're going to think about ruffing diamonds here. And we're going to start off with the ace of diamonds and then the king of diamonds. Everyone has followed to that. And I've got the last poll of the evening, which is, what do you think South should lead now? You've just won 2 rounds of diamonds. And which card do you think declarer should lead now from the South hand? And the majority have gone for the 4 of diamonds, a low diamond. That's 82%, with choices for some of the other options as well. And let's think about this. Yes, we want to ruff a diamond, so we don't want to play a third round. We don't want to play the queen of diamonds, because there's a distinct danger that that might be ruffed if we try to win a trick with it. In fact, if I click here on the GIB button, it's saying that the only way to make this contract is to lead a low diamond. So don't play hearts or clubs. You'll be defeated by 2 tricks there if you do that, but lead a low diamond. And remember, we've just drawn 2 rounds of diamonds and we're trying to cater to a 4-2 distribution. So when we lead that diamond, we of course should ruff that high. We've got the jack there, so we ruff that one high. And if that wins the trick, now we're in great shape if I bring up 4 hands, because there's just 1 diamond out now, the jack, but it will fall under the queen. So now all we need to do is draw trumps. And it actually takes, we get a slightly bad trump break here. We have to draw 4 rounds to get rid of the opponent's trumps. But then we can cash the queen of diamonds and the 6 of diamonds to make our 10 tricks. We're going to lose the last 2 tricks, whatever happens here, but we'll make 10 tricks there. Okay. And all we needed really was that the diamonds divide 4-2, or it would also work, of course, if they divided 3-3. If they had divided 3-3, we could have made the same number of tricks just by cashing them off the top. But we gave ourselves a chance to make this contract against a 4-2 or a 3-3 break, which is very good odds. And we had to think about ruffing the 3rd round of diamonds, and it has to be high. Okay, let's try one last one to look at. And this time we open a weak 2, and my partner takes me to 4 spades, and the opponents lead the king of diamonds. And I can see a very nice dummy there. If I look at my potential losers here, I'm not going to lose any spades, but I've got a heart loser. I've got 2 diamond losers, but I'm not going to lose any clubs. I've got the ace king of clubs. So I'm going to make my contract losing a heart and 2 diamonds, but I can do much better on this, making use of that club suit. And I hope you can see that because we have 8 clubs between us, if the missing clubs divide 3-2, we can establish that suit by ruffing just once, and then all the rest of the clubs will be good. So I'm going to win that first trick, and I think I'll try and draw trumps before I do anything else, because I've got very good trumps, and I should be able to draw the trumps and still set up the clubs, is what I'm hoping. So I'll play the ace. maybe play the queen over to the king, overtaking, so that I can draw the last trump. And then I'm going to play the clubs, play the winning in the shorthand with the king, cross over to the ace. And if everyone follows, now all I need to do is ruff a club that establishes the rest of the clubs. And I've got the ace of hearts over there as an entry. So I can now cash 3 clubs. And actually I can discard all my losers and make 13 tricks here. So when this hand was played, very few people made 13 tricks. And, if you don't set up the clubs, you might only make 10 tricks there. But just with normal distribution there of the clubs, you can make all the tricks, in fact. Anyone have any comments or questions on any of that?